Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, everybody. I am Kate Magdziuk. You can follow me on Twitter at FFBallBlast. And as always, I'm joined by the fantastic Marcus Mosher. You can follow him on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Give the show a follow at Locked On Dynasty. Hit that subscribe button. We are going to build the ultimate Dynasty team this season, and we need you along for the ride. Marcus, we have more football this weekend.
More football.
More football. Not necessarily all of the teams that we hoped would be there will be there, but we have more football, and we have some team reviews coming up today on the show. Are you ready for the divisional round?
I am. This is my favorite week of football season because typically these are the best 8 teams left. These games end up always being really good, typically better than the championship games in the Super Bowl. I'm excited. We've had a lot of really good divisional games over the years. So what game are you looking forward to watching the most?
It's got to be the Bills Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any game on the slate that holds a card to this game in particular. It's just there are so many moving pieces, moving parts. Like I'm interested to see the Chiefs defense. I'm interested to see the Bills running game. But most of all, these two quarterbacks going head to head, just so fun. And I'm very excited to watch. How about you? What's your number one game of the weekend?
You're probably right, but man, I'm really excited about Titans Bengals, and I think it's because Joe Burrow's so much fun. Derrick Henry's back. The Titans are the number 1 seed in the AFC, and I love watching AJ Brown. I know it's not maybe it doesn't have the appeal that some of the other games have that have Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, and Josh Allen, but still, it's really fun.
I think there are a lot of like really very talented assets in this game. I think what makes me hesitant to rank it above Bills Chiefs is just the lack of postseason experience here for the Bengals. I am rooting for the Bengals. I'm a Steelers fan. One of my best friends is a huge Bengals fan, and I just want to support her as this is the first postseason that she's actually advanced to in her lifetime. Shout out Elise. But like I'm rooting for them, but I do worry that a lot of times we'll see these young teams without that postseason experience come in and just sort of fall flat on their faces. But if the wild card round was any indication, then maybe we don't have so much to worry about.
Yeah, that's. I think Joey B is going to be just fine. I don't think he's going to be stressed about this game. I think he's going to come in and play loose. I mean, when you play, in a national championship game against, some really good teams, and like, was it Clemson they played that one year and absolutely dominated? I think he'll be all right. All right, Kate, we're gonna get to our previews. But we need to talk about Devo Samuel really, really quickly because he was fantastic again on Sunday against the Cowboys. And a lot of people have been asking me, where do you rank Devo in terms of dynasty? I literally had a person right before we jumped on. He's behind Jamar Chase, obviously. I think he's behind Justin Jefferson. But where do you kind of slot him in for your dynasty rankings?
Devo is such a tough person to rank. And I think there are so many different moving pieces and the ability to just sort of demand touches. And I mean, they're just really looking for any way to get him involved. How about Devontae Adams or Devo Samuel? Because Devontae Adams getting up there in age. Like these are the players that I'm having trouble ranking Devo around because they are so elite. But Devo has all of these other factors going for him. I think I like that's the range that I'm putting him in and having trouble ranking him around is
Yeah, for me, it's probably Debo, and it's really, really close, and it feels weird to say Debo over Devontae Adams, but I think I don't want to say there's more quarterback stability because that's not true, right? Because probably Trey Lance is going to be the quarterback next year for the 49ers, but it almost feels like he's more quarterback proof than what Devontae Adams is, right? Like if Trey Lance is the starter next year for the 49ers, I don't think we're going to be downgrading Debo at all, right?
No, I don't think so. And I mean, just even the fact that like obviously we don't know Aaron Rodgers' future, but we have Devonta Adams who's about to hit the free agency market.
A little bit
If we
older as
see
well,
him
just a little bit.
a little bit older as well, so like I do think I would take Debo over that range. So like that puts him right around wide receiver 8 or so in Dynasty, and I still feel like that feels too low.
Listen, you know I'm a Cowboy fan. People that are watching this on YouTube can see my Cowboy backdrops and all that kind of stuff now. I don't understand
Debo over CeeDee Lamb.
I don't understand CeeDee Lamb being ranked that high. I don't.
I would tend to agree with you. Let's go through just a couple more wide receivers because I'm very fascinated as to where this line lands. I also would take Devo Samuel over CeeDee Lamb in the latest edition of Dynasty League Football ADP. CeeDee Lamb comes in as the wide receiver 3, which is crazy.
That's ridiculous.
It's pretty crazy because you know what? Like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, all of these players around him might have won you your leagues, but CeeDee Lamb is the only one of those players here that really put the nail in your coffin if you were relying on him down the stretch. How about DK Metcalf, who's also been pretty disappointing, but has a very high ceiling, or Devo Samuel?
Same draft too, 2019. I think I'd go Debo, and that one's tough because Metcalf, should be paired with a better quarterback. He's the bigger play threat down the field, but I think I'd go Debo.
And for me, the tiebreaker there just comes down to usage. We've seen DK Metcalf sort of disappear at times. Obviously, his usage ebbs and flows, but with the way that this team made an effort to get Debo involved in every phase of the game, it's got to be Debo. Let's do one more. Jalen Waddle or Devo Samuel. Jalen Waddle is just ahead of him, wide receiver 8 in the latest round of ADP. This one is a bit tougher for me. Maybe I lean Jalen Waddle in a full PPR format just due to that.
Debo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Debo. I don't trust that Waddle's going to get the peppering of targets that he got this year from Tua. I would rather have Debo.
All right. So we have Devo Samuel right around wide receiver 6, wide receiver 7 at this point. And I think that somehow that still feels low.
Yeah. I think it feels about right. We didn't mention Tyreek Hill. I would take Tyreek Hill over Debo. Tyreek basically averages 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns a season with Patrick Mahomes. He's about as safe as you get. Yeah. It's about as safe as you get. All right. So we like Debo, though, a lot. Maybe still undervalued, though, is what we're trying to tell you. If he's currently wide receiver 8 on Dynasty League Football, hey, if you can swap him for CeeDee Lamb and some stuff, please go out there and do that.
By all means, yes.
By all means. All right. We're going to get to our first team preview or review, excuse me. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Get Upside. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every single gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app at the App Store or Google Play right now and use promo code Touchdown and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store and use promo code Touchdown and get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your next tank. That's promo code Touchdown. Also, want to tell you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all the sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. All right, Kate. So the first team that we're going to preview today is the Atlanta Falcons. And let's talk about their weird 2021 season. This is a team that almost made the playoffs despite having one of the worst point differentials in the NFL. Calvin Ridley stepped away mid-season. Matt Ryan was up and down, but they did have some guys that emerged. So what is their most valuable dynasty asset from the 2021 season?
I mean, I'm going to hit an obvious candidate here, but Kyle Pitts, their leading wide receiver, and probably their wide receiver one for a very long time by the looks of it, finished the year 110 targets, led the team bar, 68 catches, 1,000 receiving yards for this young tight end. And I still feel like for as much as the preseason hype was so high and like almost unbearable at times for Kyle Pitts, we really haven't talked all that much about the fact that he literally finished the season with 1,000 receiving yards. Maybe that's because he had one touchdown, but I mean, let's look at the product of this offense. Nobody on this team had more than 5 receiving touchdowns. I do think that, maybe this is a product of lack of scoring, but why aren't we talking more about Kyle Pitts? I am kind of failing to see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the touchdowns, right? He only had 1 this year.
But we know touchdowns are so touch and go. I don't know. I'm having trouble with like understanding this whole thing with Kyle Pitts, because we should be jumping out of our pants excited. And really just nobody has talked. I just want to hear more chatter, but maybe do you think the low touchdown production is enough to lower his value to the point where he'd be tradable?
Nope.
Not for you, but would he be cheap enough to acquire? Because we know that like ahead of the season, he was just impossible to trade for. Like there's
maybe there's an owner that's a little worried that he's just never going to be a big touchdown producer. I don't know, Kate. I think touchdowns are a little bit fluky, and the Falcons had a weird year this year. There was only 10 tight ends this year that recorded a 100-yard game, a 100-yard receiving game. Kyle Pitts did it 3 times. The only person to do it more was Mark Andrews, who did it 5. Like Kyle Pitts as a rookie was just as productive and had just the high peaks as George Kittle, Gronk, Goddard, Waller. Like he's going to be locked in as a top 3 dynasty tight end for the next decade. And that's super, super valuable. And if he gets, listen, there's going to be a season, I'm telling you, there's going to be a season where he catches 12 touchdowns. If he's 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns, he's going to be probably the most valuable fantasy asset, out there, right? Most valuable dynasty asset. So I'm not panicking on Kyle Pitts at all. We just saw one of the best rookie seasons from a tight end ever. Let's appreciate it.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, one of 3 tight ends this year with 1,000 receiving yards. And it's worth noting that the other 2 tight ends that managed it, Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce, they both had 138 targets or more. Kyle Pitts did it on 107. Yeah. That's a pretty big differential. He was efficient this year, despite the lack of touchdowns. So if there's any universe where I can, maybe move George Kittle,
done.
Done.
All right, next one. This one's pretty easy. Most disappointing player. It's not Calvin Ridley. I know some people are going to say it's Calvin Ridley. It's not. He stepped away because of his mental health. We love to see that. We hope he's doing well. For me, it's Mike Davis, Kate, because Mike Davis
Oh,
going into the year, I mean, his ADP, Kate, in September in Dynasty League football was 100. Okay. We saw it actually higher than that over the offseason, 92, 93. Now it sits at 226. And the reason why is because he wasn't good this year and he got replaced by Cordarrelle Patterson. And Mike Davis is kind of who Mike Davis is. And I think we got a little too excited about him.
Yeah, I think we got too excited about like opportunity and not so much looking at the player. I mean, the thing about Mike Davis is that when we saw him briefly step into this role as a starter for Christian McCaffrey, he looked really good. But as the season went on and we saw this need for him to play an expanded role for a long period of time, he didn't have that same explosivity.
He
Is that a
got
word?
so many catches in Carolina too, and I think that was the difference, right? He just wasn't getting. I mean, he wasn't getting the receptions like he in 2020. He in the 12 starts he had 59 receptions in 17 games this year. He had 44 receptions. I know that's only a difference of 15, but I mean that's quite a bit when you're talking about 5 more starts.
Yeah, it's pretty drastic. And I mean, I think it does say something to you if like Cordarrelle Patterson, the guy that can't establish himself at any position in the NFL for the biggest chunk of his career is establishing himself over you. I mean, I think you just have to assume that his dynasty value is toast.
And our last one, biggest buy. Is it Calvin Ridley? Is it Kyle Pitts? Is it somebody else?
I do think it's Calvin Ridley. But here's sort of the interesting question is he's been the speculation of a lot of trade rumors. As of recently, there's been a lot of reports that Calvin Ridley's looking to get a fresh start somewhere else. The team seems to be in agreement there. So we could see him on the move, but I mean, Calvin Ridley, we saw some disappointing production in the limited time that he played this season. But I mean, this was just a disappointing team across the board. So I'm not going to hold that against him. Calvin Ridley is a very talented and young wide receiver. I'm not sure why there were rumors circulating that didn't seem to have any source or base and factual. Like it didn't seem to make any sense to me, but folks were saying like, yep, we saw the last of Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's
and there just
not,
was no basis for that. I hope not. It just didn't seem like there was a really any base. This guy nearly had 1,400 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns last season. He is the ultimate buy, and guess what? He's healthy. If we see him return to the field, he's well rested. Give me all of the Calvin Ridley, please, and thank you.
For me, it's Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst, it was somebody the Falcons traded for in 2020, I believe. It might have been 2019. 2020, and was pretty decent. Like he was pretty consistent for the Falcons, and then they draft Kyle Pitts at number 4. I just think Hayden Hurst is good, and he's a free agent this year, and I think there's a good chance that he lands in a good situation. He's currently Dynasty League football. He's currently tight end 37. The guys ahead of him are Brevin Jordan, Hunter Long, Anthony Fersker, Blake Jarwin, Dan Arnold, Harrison Bryant, Jared Cook. Like I could easily see Hayden Hurst ending up with the Chargers, and all of a sudden he's 700 yards and 6 touchdowns every year, and you can get him for a song right now. I think that's somebody that I'm buying because I believe in the talent.
I really like that. I mean, you kind of forget that Hayden Hurst is there because of the Kyle Pitts just overshadowing him. But I think you just mentioned the Chargers. That would be a fantastic fit. And we've seen Hayden Hurst. He is a capable receiver. Just needs to get the opportunity. And I think that would be a very interesting interesting fit. I very much
I just
like
think there's
that.
a lot of teams out there that are going to think about Hayden Hurst and say, hey, this is a guy that can block. He's got experience. Let's pay him $6 million a year rather than paying like Dalton Schultz 10. Like, for example, I could see the Cardinals this offseason being interested in Hayden Hurst, right? They like old tight ends. I don't know how much longer Zach Ertz is going to be around for that team. If Hayden Hurst is in Arizona, I love that fit. I think he's instantly a low-end tight end 1. And again, he is tight end 37 right now. So I think that's a guy that you should trade for now before he hits free agency because his value is only going to rise.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. And let's just say like this this tight end, this group of tight ends coming up that are about to hit free agency in this specific draft class, like David and Njoku, like all of these guys are just so fascinating to me. And I think all of them are buys. I just needed to throw that out there.
Yeah. All right. Let's take one more quick break before we get to the Chicago Bears. To tell you guys about Built Bar. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your resolution because it just tastes so good. You're going to want to eat healthy, and eating healthy can be boring, but make it not boring by eating a Built Bar. Most Built Bars are 100% covered in chocolate. They only have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, but 17 grams of protein. My favorite right now is coconut almond brownie. I also like the mint brownie. I like the salted caramel, cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie. So many great flavors. Go to
You're a brownie
built.com.
man.
Oh, yeah. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your next order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
It's cookies
All
and
right.
cream, by the way. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
winner.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears. Not a great season. A lot of injuries. Justin Fields was banged up. Did look good at the end of the season when he was healthy, though. Most valuable dynasty asset going forward.
I think I've got to roll with Justin Fields. Just both of us, I think we're pretty high on Justin Fields coming out. I love his ability as a passer. Just didn't get to see that this season. Was very disappointing. Completed only 59% of his passes through 7 touchdowns in 10 games started. It just didn't go well for Justin Fields this year. But a few things that we did see that I liked were, his just overall ability as a rusher. We didn't get to see him consistently get in the mix there as as a just maybe designed rushing attempts, but still finished the season with 420 rushing yards, which I think is like so quiet in terms of production. He's just got so much upside for me as a passer and a rusher. If we can get him the right coaching staff to help piece it all together for him and make the next jump.
I don't disagree. I think he's going to be the most valuable fantasy dynasty quarterback of this 2021 class. I just think once they get the right coordinator or the head coach and the right coordinator, things are going to click. And I think Chicago is going to do their best to upgrade that offensive line this offseason. I'm all in. Most disappointing player.
Ooh, it's like I hate to keep doing obvious names here, but it's Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Allen Robinson. I don't know if there's anybody that has so rapidly seen a tank in their free agent value.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any player that we've ever seen do such a rapid nosedive with such a long history of production in terms of their dynasty value. Allen Robinson wasn't perfectly healthy, but he didn't exceed 68 receiving yards in a single game this year. You want to talk about disappointing? He, like my friend Kyle Pitts, only scored 1 touchdown on the year. I think you can have all this conjecture about the offense and how disappointed they were on all fronts, but we saw Darnell Mooney have a lot more value here. So how do you value Allen Robinson moving forward? Because looking at his track record prior to this year, he had 2 consecutive seasons of 1,100 or more receiving yards on a bad offense. Like, who is Allen Robinson at this point?
I don't know. And for me, this is probably a wait and see thing, right? Because I just don't know if I can invest a lot in Allen Robinson without knowing where he's going to land. Like, it's not going to be in Chicago. Let's just get that out of the way. And I think Allen Robinson at this stage of his career would be smart to go to a team with an established quarterback. But I also think there's a chance that he's just looking for one last cash grab, and he might just go to the team that offers him the most money. That might be somebody like the Jets or, some team like that, or Washington. I'm waiting and see because I just don't have a good feel for this one at all. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. But like, let's look at a couple of like recent dynasty trades here. There haven't been a ton. AJ Brown for a 2022 first round pick and Allen Robinson.
I'd rather have AJ Brown.
Okay. Allen Robinson or Irv Smith Jr. I'm going to just make the leap and say this is probably a tight end premium.
Okay, that's Allen Robinson, but
Okay.
jeez, my goodness, look how far his value has fallen.
Yeah, I need to give you like 2 more here. Because this just shows you how low can you go. Apparently Allen Robinson can go quite low. Allen Robinson for Foster Moreau, who we like.
Big fan of. Yep.
A 2022 third round pick and Craig Reynolds, running back for the Detroit Lions.
Okay, see, I'm not even the biggest Allen Robinson fan now, and that's just such a value. So if you can get him for something like that, please go out and do that. But my goodness.
Last but not, no, I'm not done, Marcus.
Oh, go ahead.
KJ Hamler for Allen Robinson and Marvin Jones.
Oh, I get 2 players. Oh, great. I'll take Allen Robinson and Marvin Jones there.
2 for the price of, but like this is where we've fallen for Allen Robinson. All of those trades come courtesy of dynastyleaguefootball.com and their Dynasty Trade Finder tool. But this is what is going on. Allen Robinson for Irv Smith Jr. Guys, Allen Robinson for a 2nd and 4th round pick.
Crazy.
I don't know.
All right. I want to, before we go, we need to do Dynasty Buy or Dynasty Sell. My buy also turns into my biggest disappointment. David Montgomery was good this year. Okay. He played in 13 games, 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns. It's fine, right? Like when he played, he was a high-end RB2, right? But I think it's a little disappointing because when he was out, Khalil Herbert came right in and was really good. In the 2 games that Herbert started, he had 197 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, and 48 receiving yards. Like, he was just as good, if not better. And with David Montgomery going into the final years, his contract, and Khalil Herbert being young, I wouldn't be shocked, Kate, if this is a split backfield sum in 2022, with eventually maybe it turning over to Khalil Herbert in 2023. So I'm buying Herbert. I'm a little bit disappointed in Montgomery this year just because I don't think he was leaps and bounds better than everybody else in that roster.
No, Khalil Herbert is definitely one of my favorite buys on this team. 6th round pick, doesn't have the draft capital, but very much showed that he can keep up in like all phases of the game. Looked great on special teams. They had him returning kicks, but I mean, he did fantastic and in his limited time with a sizable workload. So yep. I'm all about it. As a backup running back, nearly exceeded the production of Mike Davis this year. That's all I got to say.
I'd also mention Cole Kmet. Final 12 games of the season, he averaged 44 receiving yards a game. I get it. Not great. No touchdowns, but 6.2 targets per game. If that can even go up to 7, I think that's interesting. He's a little bit overpriced right now. Is like, I think tight end 11, tight end 12 on Dynasty League football. Still incredibly young, only 22 years old. I'm just monitoring him because I think he's a really talented player. All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoy the divisional round of the playoffs. Please follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Dynasty. Download us wherever you download podcasts. Follow Kate at FF Ball Blast. You can follow me at Marcus _Mosher. And we'll see you guys back